Shy McBride, one of our favorites, and he's in a show on CBS that is a takeoff of my nickname in college. My college coach used to call me Golden Boy, and it was a derogatory term. It was not a compliment. Yeah. He did not think much of me, but Golden Boy is not based on me, is what you're saying.
No, it's not an autobiographical television series based on the life of Dan Patrick.
Okay.
No, I'm afraid not. I pitched it.
Oh, you did?
But it was resoundingly rejected. Yeah.
Would you rather play bad guy or good guy?
I'd rather play bad guy because the thing about and the key to playing a bad guy, when I was doing a terminal, I talked to Stanley Tucci about it, and because he's really good at it. And the key to playing a bad guy is you don't think you're a bad guy. You're just behaving normally, you know what I mean? And you're doing the stuff that's written for you, but you don't let on that you think that you're perfectly within the proper moral universe, and that's what makes you such a bad guy.
Alan Rickman in Die Hard,
greatest bad guy on film.
But he doesn't think he's a bad guy, right?
No. Like when the woman says that he's a common thief, he says, "No, I'm an exceptional thief." And since I've graduated to kidnapping, I suggest that you shut up, or whatever he said. You know what I mean? But he didn't think he was a bad guy. And that's why he was so good. He was like, this is what everyone should be doing, and that's why I think the bad guys have more fun.
But when you look at in Hollywood now, who do we look at like action heroes?
Forget it. You know what I mean? There's no Bruce Willis. There's no more Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, if it's you in a building stuck with some terrorists, who you want to come get you? Robert Pattinson? You know what I mean? It's cool. The dude from Twilight is here, so we should be getting out any minute. You know, I don't think so, man. And it's a shame because it's like, where the hell are all the men going?
But you have Schwarzenegger with a movie out. You got Bruce doing another Die Hard. Jason Statham is a pretty good bad guy.
Jason Statham's a bad one. Yeah, he's a bad boy. I really like him a lot. And there's a few, but I mean, you know, you look at during the '80s, there was everybody. There was Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Willis, Van Damme. You know, there was so many of them. They started a restaurant. You know what I mean? So you had that, and you still have Will, but you know, but it's just going away. I think there's a cultural shift, you know, that's making it not be any room for basically for a tough guy.
But what makes us buy into these guys as far as an action hero?
Because they're doing something that you can't do. You know, it's like since I've been working here in New York, I've made friends with a lot of coppers, you know, and one reason why I like so many of the coppers is because you ain't doing that job. So you know somebody's got a gun. And you know that you can come in this building and not come out alive, you're not going in there. If you have a choice, they don't have a choice. They run toward anybody who runs toward what everybody else runs away from. That's a hero, you know. And who doesn't admire that quality? Who doesn't wish that it was them? You know what I mean? This is I love this city. This is a very special city, and 9/11 is of course a very special day. And you had people who knew when they left their firehouse, knew when they left their police station, they knew they weren't coming back. They knew there was a strong possibility, way better than 50%. You got to admire that, man. That's what we buy into.
Do you go, since you're playing a cop, do you do ride-alongs with these guys?
Yeah, I've done a couple of ride-alongs. I mean, I don't do too many because the first time we were doing a pilot, and they were like, "Well, we're going to go over to Brownsville to the projects." It's like, well, I don't need to do that. You know, I lived that. Okay, let me see what happened when I was 8. Yeah, I remember. That's okay. We don't need to go. But you know, a lot of the kids in the show, they were like, "Wow, someone was actually shot." Yeah, and that could be you. So maybe you shouldn't do the ride along.
Maybe you should say, "Can we go to a nice neighborhood?"
Yeah,
because I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, let's go where there's some high stakes jewel thieves. You know, the guys that climb up to the 90th floor to take somebody's necklace. I want to see that.
What is happening in Hollywood now?
It's just the business it's really changing, man. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've been able to work for 21 years, and you just don't have that kind of longevity. It's becoming rarer and rarer, and everything is based on whatever is in the moment, which is pretty much show business in general. But I think the advent of social media has really changed everything, because I was talking with an executive once. I was like, y'all really going to do a TV show based on a Twitter feed? Really? He was like, yeah. I said, well, I mean, if I was running show business, the first thing I'd be trying to do is get the hell away from social media as far as I can, because what you don't realize is that everybody's ambition now is to be famous. And if everybody's famous, then nobody's famous. And you ain't got no show business no more. So you need to get away from that part of it, you know what I mean? But that's what's really changed. People are so quick to jump on things, but they're, in a good way, is that there's so many avenues to do things. If you can't do a TV show, anybody with a camera phone is a TV star now.
He's Shy McBride. The show is Golden Boy.
Golden Boy.
And it's so you play a police officer.
I play a copper, and what it's about is Theo James, who is a really great actor. He's in a show called Downton Abbey for a few years, and he did a couple underworld movies with Kate Beckinsale. And he plays a guy who ends up becoming the youngest police commissioner in the history of New York City. And it's about the 7 years of his life as a homicide detective, and I'm his partner, and I start out as a guy who wants to retire in 2 years and end up becoming his mentor. So it's kind of a relationship like he's Luke Skywalker and I'm Obi-Wan.
But you've been with a lot of different guys. Eddie Murphy, you worked with Eddie?
Yeah.
But you weren't with Eddie at the peak of Eddie, were you?
It was the Nutty Professor came out, not long after I did this movie. So, he was still riding pretty high.
But who intimidated you, or made you a little bit aware of that's somebody really big?
I've always looked at show business as just my job. I think the only difference between me and anybody else is that everybody knows where I work, but I just never looked at it that way. Maybe Hanks. Yeah, because, he does have 2 Oscars, and I remember the first scene I did in the terminal was him and Catherine Zeta-Jones together, and I had to drive a golf cart and stop within 3 inches of both of them. And I was a little nervous about it, and I was talking to the DP, Janusz Kaminski. I said, he said, what's wrong? I said, I was a little nervous. I might, hit them. He said, don't worry about them. They're insured. Don't hit my camera. But I think that gave me a little bit. But after you start working, it's all cool. I mean, dude, you've been in movies with big name actors, but, you're a funny guy. You're used to speaking in public. After they say action, it all goes away.
You want to stay and talk some sports?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. And you can be my sidekick.
Oh, that would rock. Hey, listen, by the way, this ain't no real man cave, man. Here's your cigar.
Oh, you went talk.
Yeah, right. I dare you to smoke it here in the kingdom of Bloomberg.
Wow. Oh, that's right. We can't.
Yes.
We're not allowed to do that.
It is the kingdom of Bloomberg, and he hath decreed that there shall be no soda larger than 16 ounces.
How long would it take before I fired up the Fuente Opus X before I had somebody in here saying...
He shall have his lieutenants on you within moments.
We'll continue with Shy McBride, and of course I have to get my Christopher Walken impersonation from you. What happened to his Bears, best athletes in Hollywood, and how would you fare if your girlfriend or wife wanted a tattoo like Rex Ryan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up. 877-3DP show. Chris Collinsworth next hour, and Chrissy Teigen will join us in studio as well. We'll continue with Shy McBride. We'll do so next on The Dan Patrick Show. Welcome back to the program. Shy McBride, actor. The show on CBS is Golden Boy. What night is Golden Boy?
Starting February 26th, Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Starting February 26th.
All right. Golden Boy.
Yes, sir.
Paul, are you all right?
Yeah. No. I'm not.
Okay, what's the problem?
I'm usually all right. I'm not right now. So during the break, allegedly the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, called into the hotline, the guest hotline.
Yeah.
2 days back in our Connecticut studios, picked it up, and he wasn't sure it was him or not, and he's got him on hold, and we're trying to find out if it is the ball coach. Now, we didn't have him booked for today, so it would have been a complete surprise.
Was he just calling in?
Maybe.
Was there something I said that he wanted to respond to? I didn't say anything about him.
I don't know, but we left him on hold for a couple minutes. But
I don't think the head ball coach holds, though.
No, people hold for him.
Okay.
We're looking into it.
Are you asking, like, trivia questions to him?
I'm asking like Rex Grossman stats and things like that.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to have the old ball coach on there. Head ball coach. He doesn't like to be called old ball coach. Head ball coach.
We'll keep you up to date.
Okay. All right. It's fine. All right. As we were going to break, I wanted to ask you, with best athletes in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Look, McKnight's a hell of a ball player.
Brian
McKnight, a really good ball
okay.
player. There's some really good. Cuba is a great hockey player.
Cuba Gooding
That's
Jr.?
right. Cuba Gooding Jr. can get down with them skates. Okay? You better believe it. Yeah, seriously. He's in a league. They got a league there, and Bruckheimer plays in it and David Kelly plays in it, But Cuba is bad on them skates, for real.
How much networking goes on? If you're friends with somebody, can you get a job because you're a friend of somebody? How much is talent? How much is just relationship?
I think it's a business of. I mean, Hollywood's a business of favors. You have to depend on the kindness of strangers. To get work, to start your career. But it certainly goes on. I mean, people like to work. Look, all your boys here. These are your boys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if let's say you were to stop this and do something else, you're gonna try to find a way to get your boys down. You know what I mean? And that's how it goes. But along the way, they ain't slugs. It ain't Dan Patrick and the Slugs. You know what I mean?
Well, sort of
these
is.
guys can play. They can play. You know what I mean? So and it just so happens that people develop relationships. You like being around people you're comfortable around. You like being around your friends. And so it definitely happens. I don't think there's a business in the world that doesn't have these kinds of things going on. I mean, and politics is a natural part of business. If you're working at McDonald's and you on fries and you want to work on the register, somebody's butt got to get kissed. That's just how it is,
Your Bears. What happened to your Bears again?
Man, look, Lovey, I mean, it's not that Mrs. Howell isn't a good coach, but, because you figure if a brother named Lovey, he know how to fight. You know what I mean? Sooner or later, if your name is Lovey, somebody's going to either whoop your ass or you have to whoop their ass. It's going to come to that. You know what I mean? But I think ever since the decision to start Grossman at the Super Bowl with Butterfingers, I think that was the beginning of the end for him. And plus, Lovey never had that thing that Ditka had. You know what I mean? Lovey is like, well, we would have won the Super Bowl except for we lost. You know what I mean? and that's just not the demeanor that's going to get you going in the city of Chicago.
Do you like Jay Cutler?
I love Cutler, man. And what's funny to me is that how now Chicago has no running game. It's like that's all they ever had, and everybody wanted for Christmas that was a Bears fan was a quarterback. We had to suffer through Jack and Cannon, which was really bad. We've had some terrible Bobby Douglas, Vince Evans. There's no argument as to whether or not any of these gentlemen are going to end up in Canton.
Yeah, but so you like Cutler because of what you had before?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, the prettiest girl in the room is the fat chick in the room full of other fat chicks.
Every time I've had you on, you've given us Tyson, Marlon Brando,
Right.
Christopher Walken.
Right.
Have you added anything else to your repertoire?
No, I mean, I haven't really.
But you don't do this for a living.
Yeah, I don't do it for a living. Sometimes something will hit me where it's like, maybe I can, I could probably sound like Charles Barkley, if I did this with put my voice in the back of my throat, Michael Jordan is probably turning over in his grave right now.
Terrible.
It's terrible. The Knicks, everybody knows the Knicks are terrible. They got a 10-1 record, but they ain't playing nobody. You know what I mean? They playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. And Michael Jordan is turning over in his grave right now.
You never ran into Mike Tyson, though.
I did run into Tyson. Tyson loved my impression.
Did you do it to him?
I've done it for him, and he was on his meds, so I wasn't worried. You know what I mean? Because if Mike Tyson said, "I really think it's funny you're doing I think it's hysterical when you do me. If you know what I mean, I laugh. My wife, everybody thinks it's great. Could you do it for me? You've been taking your meds, bro? I haven't taken. Do you mean a little peach pill? I don't like those pills. No, well, man, I got laryngitis. Mike Tyson, the last person you want to mess with.
Christopher Walken.
Of course.
I still, it kills me. Okay.
You know, I love football. I love it. You know, what I really like about it is when they wear their pink shoes. They all look like dancers. It's great. I did a video with Fat Boy Slim. I asked for pink shoes, but there were no football players there, so I couldn't wear them.
Kittens.
Yeah.
Oh God! I get so much mileage out of it. I get so much mileage out of that when I tell people the story.
Pet them; they're soft. Go ahead.
Wait, but Christopher Walken. Cuddly. But he goes to a dinner party.
Goes to a dinner party. God. He's sitting at the dinner table with his overcoat on, and there's these little. The whole table is like 16 people at the table, all looking. What the hell is that? What is that? And after dessert, he pulls them out of his pocket and says, "Look, I brought kittens. Touch them, they're soft. Don't be afraid. They're soft. Look, I rub them against my cheek. They like it. I got a 5 o'clock shadow in the kitten. It's great."
Would you do Walken to Walken?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what's funny? Is his wife is a big-time casting director, and she gets inundated with Walken impressions on the telephone because people all think that they can impress her, you know. And people say that. Well, there's another story about Walken that there was somebody famous that went up to Walken and did a Walken impression, and Walken looks at him and goes, "What are you doing? What's the matter with you? I don't understand what you're saying. What are you saying?" you know. I mean, because he's a guy that, like, you can see Walken. Walken's here in New York. You know what I mean? And I've seen Walken from a distance, and you know, if he looks like a guy on the street, like a street living person. You know what I mean? He'll walk around in a beautiful cashmere coat and no shoes on or something. You know what I mean? So he doesn't really get it that people love him that much. That when people do impressions, like, what are you trying to say?
The show is Golden Boy on CBS.
Yes, it is.
Shy McBride.
Yes, sir.
It's great to see you.
Always great to see you.
Thank you, buddy.